Okay, hello calculus students. Um, Welcome to my whiteboard, and I'm in class, and I think this is better than seeing my hand working stuff out, working on the board. Let me know what you guys think, but here we go. So this first problem I'm going to work out is not one that you exactly are assigned, but it's extremely similar or pretty much identical to the first ones in the first WebAssign assignment, WebAssign homework 1, and also on the worksheet. And it's something we did in pre-calc, and it's tricky, a lot of algebra, and it's really good to review. So hopefully you can see everything in the board. Let me know, this will be a work in progress, but I drew a picture here. And so we have a circle centered at the origin, right? So here we are, centered at the origin, and I'm going to try hard to not stand in the way. And so there we go. And it's this green circle, and I just made up a radius of 3. I'm trying to keep the numbers different from the ones you have, so I want you to be able to do it on your own, but if, it's the same idea. And I made up a point over here that's x equals 6, so, 6 and negative 4. Y is negative 4, so this point's a little below the bottom of the circle. And then I drew 2 tangent lines to the circle. So this line just nicks the circle right there, and this one, the bottom, just hits the circle right there. And what we want to do now is find out everything we can know about the situation. In other words, what are the equations of these lines, and what are those points? Okay, now if we know the points, we know the line, because all you need to figure out the equation of a line are 2 points. We know one of them, it's 6, negative 4. So if we know what that point is and what that point is, we know what the line is. So that's the main idea. We got to figure out those 2 points. I'm going to call the point xy. And the good thing is, if we find one, we find the other one. Because I could call this one xy. The math is the same. And so we should get 2 answers. And it turns out we get a quadratic formula at the end, which gives us 2 answers, negative b plus or minus. So we get 2 answers for it, which is nice. So basically we do one problem and we get both of those points out of it. And then what you want to do is make sure it makes sense. I tried to draw, didn't do a terribly good job, but I tried to draw this picture to scale. That's always a good thing to try to do. Try to draw it like with 3 and then this is 6, and try to draw the circle as best you can, To scale as much as possible helps you see if your answer is reasonable at the end. So I really recommend you do that with every problem as much as possible. So, all right then. So we need to figure out those points. And first we got to review circles. So if we have a circle, of, just do some circle math here, where the center, let's call it h comma k, because that's what people use for the center of a circle, h and k, just because they're not used for anything else. So we have the center hk. Then the equation for this circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to the radius squared. And really this is just the distance formula, or the Pythagorean theorem, the distance from h squared plus the distance from y squared. So in other words, if here's the center, the distance from x plus the distance from y squared, which would be this is the distance of that point, it's always going to be the distance squared is always going to be the radius squared. The distance is the radius. Anyway, so it just comes from the distance from a point. Now, we're at the origin. That makes it much simpler. H and k is 0. So we have here, we just plug in 0 there. So we just have x squared plus y squared equals the radius squared. The radius is 3, because I just made up that number. So 3 squared is 9. So we have one formula to find x and y. We know that to find x and y, to find this point or that point, we know that x squared and y squared equals 9. So that's pretty good. But we have 2 things we don't know. So we need 2 formulas. And this is going to be a common thing. We did this in pre-calc. We're going to do this a lot, where you have 2 equations and 2 unknowns. So we have 1 equation and 2 unknowns. We need 2 equations. So we need another equation. The other one you get by the slope. So remember that. Whenever you have a problem like this, you think, okay, I know the circle equation, and then I use the slope to find the other equation. So what is the slope of this line? Well, it's this point minus that point, or this point minus that point, right? All you need are 2 points to find the slope. Problem is we don't know that point, but we gave it letters. So let's do, oh, I don't know, let's do this one minus this one. Doesn't matter, the math will be the same. You gotta choose one point to start. So the slope, let's just call it m, because that's what you do. The slope is right as change in y, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And just choose one to be the second point. So let's choose this one to be the second point. So we go y minus -4. So y minus -4 divided by, this is an x minus 6. X minus 6. So of course that's y plus 4 over x minus 6. That's one way to get the slope. But that's not really an equation. We don't know what m is, and we don't know what x is, we don't know what y is. So there's two ways to get the slope. That's the other trick to remember in these things. One formula comes from the circle equation, one formula comes from the slopes, and there's two ways to get the slope. The other way to get the slope is looking at our circle here, and I drew black lines to help this out. There, now you can see me, like, that helps sort of thing. Anyway, hopefully it helps. Does it help? I guess. So the slope here is change in y. Okay, we want to find the slope of this black line. Okay, the line I drew from the center to the tangent point. Okay, and its slope is rise over run. Well, that slope then, the rise is x, right? How far it goes up is the point, because it starts at the center. The rise is x. The rise is y. Okay, it's been a while. The rise is y. It goes up y, because that's the point, right? It starts at 0, it goes up to that point y, and it goes over x. So the slope of the black line is m is equal to y over x. But that's not the line we want. That's the perpendicular to the tangent line. We want the blue line. So the black line is easy to get, but we want the blue line, which is perpendicular. And you guys, I'm sure, remember, if we want the perpendicular line, it's negative this upside down, negative inverse. So actually, the slope we want, let's call this m2 or something, because it's not the one we want, it's the perpendicular. I guess I should call it m perpendicular. That would have been really clever. Let me try that. M perpendicular, put a little perpendicular symbol. That's y over x. So the one we want, m, is negative x over y. So we have m being two things. We have it as negative x over y. It's also y plus 4 over x minus 6. Same slope. So we can set those equal. And then we only have x's and y's. And then we have our two equations, this one and this one. So let's do that. We have this is equal to this. So I'm going to say, I'll just set this equal to here. So this is one slope, and the other one is negative x over y. And that's our other formula. This one only has x's and y's, and this one only has x's and y's. We have two equations and two unknowns. So now the algebra part starts. We've done all the thinking. Now we just got to solve for what is x and what is y. So the thinking's over. Now it's computing, which of course is a lot of work and it's tricky, and I'm going to need a whole lot of space to do it. So I'm going to move my laptop here, which is how I'm doing this. I'm very proud of my system. Hopefully it works. Over to my other whiteboard here, which is nice and blank, so we can do the next part. There you go. Okay, so we got to solve this thing. Okay, so we have x squared plus y squared equals 9, and the other equation is y plus 4 over x minus 6 equals negative x over y. So we have to solve these two equations and figure out what x and y are. There's lots of ways to do it. Some ways are usually easier than other. You usually do it the wrong way first and go, well, that's not working, and that's a mess. Maybe I should do it the other way. Let's see, what I'm going to do first off is make this thing a simpler equation. Fraction equations, you know, it's just nice to not deal with fractions if you don't have to. So I'm going to cross multiply y times that, x minus 6 times this. And so let's see, negative x, I'm going to make this a negative that's x. So we'll put the negative sign up on top, so remember we're taking the negative in the x part. Negative x times x minus 6 is negative x squared plus 6x. Negative x times x is negative x squared. Negative x times negative 6 plus 6x. Yep, that looks right. Equals y times y is y squared. Y times 4 is plus 4y. Now I am trying to be super, super careful, like you guys should always be, like I should always be. But sometimes when I'm trying to explain stuff and do it in the board, I make mistakes, and that'd be a bummer because then everything's wrong. I start all over. I normally have a class full of people to catch my mistakes, and I don't have that right now. It's very sad. Wish you guys were here. So I'll just have to be super, super careful. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to put the x squared and y squareds on the same side because I can see right away that's going to be awesome, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to put the negative x squared over here and make it positive, and the 4y over here and make it negative. Okay, so I have over here then negative 4y plus 6x. So positive on one side, so negative on the other side. The negative x squared becomes a positive y squared. So equals positive negative x squared becomes a positive x squared plus y squared. Right, so the y squared stays on the right side, the negative x squared becomes over here as the positive x squared. Now, what you're supposed to go is, wow, this is awesome, because we know what x squared and y squared is. X squared plus y squared is 9. So I can replace all this with 9. How awesome is that? And I'm also going to put the negative 4y second. It's nice to have a positive number minus another number. I don't know, it just seems nicer. So over here we have 6x minus 4y is equal to 9. Well, that's a pretty simple equation. Now what we can do is solve for either x or y, plug that back into this equation, and then we only have an x or a y. Let's get rid of the y, so we're solving for x, because that's usually what you do in math, right? It doesn't matter, but let's solve for x. So let's get rid of the y. So let's solve for y here. So I'm going to make this negative 4y is equal to 9 minus 6x, right? Put the 6x over here, back over here. We have the negative 4y. Divide both sides by negative 4. So y is equal to 9 minus 6x divided by negative 4. We want y squared. So I'm going to square that right now. Might as well just do it now, because what we want is y squared to plug back into this formula up here. So squaring this, the negative on the bottom goes away. That's nice. So y squared is, so when you square this thing, I'm going to write this out. So y squared is equal to 9 minus 6x squared divided by negative 4 squared. Negative 4 is 16. When you square a polynomial, right, it's always the first one squared plus the second one squared plus 2 times them multiplied together. And don't make a mistake. I try hard not to make a mistake. So 9 squared is 81. So 81 plus negative 6x times negative 6x, that's an x. That's plus 36x squared. Plus 36x squared. Plus 2 times them multiplied together. But multiplied together, it's negative. So that's where I've got to not make a mistake. So negative. So let's see. 6 times, so I'm doing this right. 6 times 9 is 54. 54x. Right, 6 times 9 is 54. 2 times them multiplied together is 108, and it's negative. So minus 108x, and all of that is over 16. And then we check and make sure we did that right. 9 times 9 is 81 plus 36x squared minus 2 times them multiplied together. 6, because you have 2 cross terms, right? That's what that 2 times them multiplied together comes from, 2 cross terms. So 6 times 9 is 54x times 2 is 108x. I think I did that right. It's dangerous doing it in my head, but I think I got that right. Okay, now we know what y squared is. We can plug it back up into here. So I'm going to put a line here to separate my work. We have x squared plus all of this. Now I'm going to do each one separately now. Okay, 81 over 16 plus 36x squared over 16 minus that over 16. So plus 81 over 16 plus 36x squared over 16 minus 108x over 16. That's x squared plus y squared equals 9. Now we want to make this look like the quadratic formula. We have an x squareds, we have two x squareds, we have an x, and then we have two numbers by themselves. So we're going to add them all up, and I'm going to decimalize it here because we get the quadratic formula. We're not going to be able to keep it perfect fractions. So far, it's all perfect. So let's get decimals out of this. So let's see, 81 over 16. 81 divided by 16 is, turn that calculator on. 81 divided by 16 is 5.0625 plus 9. Well, I'll just do that. So we have x squared plus 5.0625 minus 9. I'm going to put the 9. These are the two numbers, right, by themselves, no x's. So 9 is over here, so it's minus 9 over here. Plus 36 divided by 16, x squared. So we have more x squareds. 36 divided by 16, that's 2.25 plus 2.25 x squareds minus 108 divided by 16 x's. Is that a nice number? Sounds like it might be a nice number. Divided by 16, 6.75. Not too bad. Minus 6.75x is equal to 0. It almost looks like quadratic formula. Let's combine the x squareds. We have 1x squared and 2.25x squared. So that's 3.25x squareds. So we have 3.25x squareds. We only have the 1x minus 6.75x minus, because the 9 wins, right? Negative 9 is bigger than 5.0625, so we have to go negative 9 plus 5.0625. So I can do that in a calculator. So that is negative 3.9375. So 3.9375 equals 0. All right, now it looks like the quadratic formula. So now we just use our quadratic formula and make sure we didn't make mistakes. This is supposed to be negative, comes from there, positive. 1 plus 2.25 is 3. Okay, hopefully it's right because it's a lot of work now. Okay, now we go. X is equal to negative b. Everybody remembers the quadratic formula, right? Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So x is negative b, this is b, 6.75. So negative that is positive 6.75. So 6.75 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So negative 6.75 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3.25, times c, which is negative 3.9375, all divided by 2 times a, so 2 times 3.25. Okay, what's really nice here is this is plus, right, minus, so it's plus inside. The negative here goes away because it's squared. So this is equal to, let's see, 2 times 3.25 is 6.5. So I'm just going to write all this out again. This is equal to 6.75 plus or minus the square root. I can do this in a calculator. 6.75 squared. Take a while. 6.75 squared is that. So plus 4 times 3.25 times 3.9375 equals that. And I get 96.75. So square root of 96.75 all over 6.5. Okay, that, you don't need to have that much room there. So square root of 96.75. The square root of 96.75, and I really hope I did that right. That's like, I can do that again just to make sure, because a lot of places make mistakes there. 6.75 x squared, that's 45.5625 plus 4 times 3.25 times 3.9375. Yep, I think I did that right. So square root of that. So square root of 96.75 equals 9.836 about. So 6.75 plus or minus 9.836. That's what I said, right? 9.836, all divided by 6.5. Let's take the plus one first. Let's get the positive one first. So 9.836 plus 6.75 divided by 6.5 equals 2.55, about 2.55. So that's equal to 2.55. Or we take the minus, this can be a negative answer. 6.75 minus 9.836 equals this, divided by 6.5. That's negative 0.475. Negative 0.475. Or negative 0.475. Those are the x values. X is each of those. Now, if we have x, we can figure out y. Because y is this. Y is 9 minus 6x divided by negative 4. So, y then is, now that's too many negatives for me. I'm going to make this a positive 4 and make it 6x minus 9. Just because I like it better, right? So y is 6x minus 9 divided by positive 4. So instead of having a negative 4 and 9 minus 6x, I just made everything in the top negative what it was. Negative 6x is positive 6x, negative 9 is positive 9. I think that'll work. So that's just easier for me to wrap my brain around. So let's see. We get, if x is 2.55, so 6 times 2.55 is that, minus 9, oops. 6 times 2.55 equals 15.3, minus 9 equals 6.3, divided by 4 equals 1.575. So this is either 1.575, that goes with the 2.55, or I plug in negative 0.475 for x. So 6 times negative 0.475 equals negative 2.85 minus 9 divided by 4. I get negative 2.96 about. Negative 2.96. Negative 2.96. So those are our 2 points. Okay, our 2 points are, I'm going to do it in blue so they stand out here. After all this work, I think I have a little bit of room here. One of them is 2.55 negative 2.55, 1.575, 1.575, and negative 0.475, negative 2.96. Okay, now we see if we did it right. Again, I just made up these numbers. I don't have the right answer somewhere. We just have to look and see it of our circle and see if they make sense. If they make sense, we probably did it right. So I'm crossing my fingers here because this is a long video to do over or whatever, mess up on if I didn't do it right. So here we go. I'm going to move this back over here to the original board. Okay, now the positive we know these two are going to be positive. These two look negative the way I drew it. So, which makes sense. So far, so good. We have two positives, negatives. So, does this one look like it is 2.55 and 1.575? As that might have been a good guess. Let's see. Here is 3. So that's like almost up to 3. I didn't draw a terribly good picture. Sure, that looks like it could work. The x value could be about 2, and the y value about 1.575. Looks like it should have been moved over a little bit. I should have hit the circle over here if I drew a better picture, but that makes sense. How about the other one? Could this one down here be negative 0.475, negative 2.96? And I think it can, right? Because the y value is practically 3, practically -3. It's -3 at the bottom of the circle because the radius is 3, right? +3, -3. A little bit less because it's over here. And the x value is just a little bit negative. So actually, I drew that one pretty right on. The other one's a little bit off. So because it looks right, I'm pretty sure we did it right. Usually if you get it wrong, not always, unfortunately, but usually if you get it wrong, you're way wrong. And since it looks right, and I was careful in my math, I'm pretty sure we're pretty good. Okay, so that's the hardest part. The hardest part is finding those 2 points, doing the quadratic formula, finding the slope 2 different ways, and then setting them equal, so we only have x's and y's, and then using this circle equation and combining them with all the algebra over there. And now we just need to find each line. Okay, what are the equations of the lines? And that's the stuff you've been doing since kindergarten or something. So let's practice doing that. So you put a box here to find the lines. All you ever need are 2 points. Let's find this line here. We have this point and we have that point. So first we find the slope. So the slope is, again, we got to choose one of them to start with. Let's start with this one. Y minus the y. So 1.575 minus -4 divided by the x minus the x, 2.55 minus 6. Let's see, minus negative is plus. So that is 5.575, right? I'll write it out so I don't make a mistake. I better be careful. So 1.575 minus, or -4, so that'd be 5.575. Yep, I did that right. 5.575 divided by 2.55 minus 6, that's negative. 2.55 minus 6, which equals -3.45. -3.45, which then is 5.575 minus divided by 5.575 divided by 3.45 is -1.62, let's say. -1.62. Okay. There's lots of ways now to go. I like the y minus y1 formula. Okay, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Choose a point, either point. All you need is a point and a slope. We have a slope, -1.62, which, by the way, makes sense. It's negative, right? And it's kind of steepish looking, so it's negative and it looks kind of steep. So, I think I did it right. Not so steep, but steeper than 1. So steeper than 45 degrees. So yeah, it's probably right. So let's choose this point because it's nice, pretty numbers, right? This one, 2.55. We always choose the point that's got pretty numbers to work with. So we go y minus y. So y minus -4 is y plus 4 equals the slope, -1.62 times x minus 6. Now we multiply all this out, put the 4 over here. Y is equal to -1.62x. Negative times negative is plus 1.62 times 6, whatever that is. 1.62 times 6 plus 9.72 minus 4, right? Plus 4 over here. That's the one I always forget that. Be really careful and make it negative. Plus 4 becomes a -4. Negative times negative comes positive. -1.2. Okay, now we just combine those two. So y is equal to -1.62x plus, this I can do in my head, 9 minus 4 is 5. 5.72. That's one of our equations. Now we just do the same thing for the other line. The other line is, we use this point and that point, and we do the same thing. Okay, I'm sure you can do that. I just made up this problem. You don't have to do this problem. If you could just pay close attention and go, I think I can do that. And then do the ones in the worksheet and do the ones in WebAssign. You should be able to do those on your own because it's exactly the same thing, just different numbers. If you ever wanted to look back in this video, that's the awesome thing about videos, right? You can just look back in it. I'll stand out of the way, right? So you can see all the work. And you can look back and see what I did so that, if you forget what steps to do, hopefully you can your steps from what I did here. And this video just hit 30 minutes. Good thing you can stop it and, you know, go do something else, stretch and come back to it, or fast forward it if it's like, okay, I can do that, I can do that. But this is skill we're going to use a lot, just like in pre-calc. You need to know how to do these problems, and it'll get you started in the WebAssign. I'll make more videos as we go through this. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully this format helps. Hopefully you can read the board. It's not too small, or you could zoom in or something. All right. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.